What up?
Hey, yo. After 15 minutes of fucking trying around, trying to fix the sheet.
No. It only took us about 17 minutes to figure out how to record today's episode. It only took us about 17 days between this one and the last episode. Welcome back to the CineClwd Podcast, episode with a number I'm not aware of. We are coming to you live from the households.
That's crazy.
Coming to you live in the middle of a heated January when it comes to cinema within itself. Essentially, where we live, we don't really get festivals and screenings, so it's time for studios to dump all of the leftovers from 2024, as well as a January that I haven't been really on top of in terms of new releases. I've been more so, following the award season and, yada yada, what's happening on that. And we're talking about today we're talking about the heaviest hitter of the heaviest hitter in award season. It's essentially we got this
Perez.
Get the fuck out of here. Nah, I watched a video essay and I'm gonna find it now because I want to give the guy a shout out, because I watched Emilia Perez and we came on here and did the end of the year ranking. I gave I think it was my top 25. In my top 25, it
right?
was like 25.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna try to find right here. Okay, wait, I pulled it up. The video essay by the YouTube channel A Journey Through Cinema, and they called it Emilia Perez is the worst Oscar contender. And I was like, I have to see this because it's such a rage baity title just made for me to watch. And so I watch it, and then I'm like, it's actually so valid what's being said. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's essentially how like Emilia Perez is it was made with a big lack of a genuine connection to what it's talking about and what it's doing. Like, there's the quote that was pulled up in that video essay was like the director being like, I don't need to research what this is about, I just know what it is. And we're talking about like Mexican cartels, not to mention the heavy the tangled web that is becoming a woman when you're a man, and the sex change surgery. And he's just like, nah, I'm full blown going.
I'm gonna freestyle it.
And apparently a lot of people are like, it's just a bunch of bullshit. Like, the whole movie is just stupid. And it's been in the news recently, as has the movie we're going to talk about today. It used AI. It didn't really handle its subject matter with care. I think the movie is good because of just the movie that it is. I obviously see the impact like those things can have, but just for the movie it is. I already threw out the word AI, and you probably read the title of this podcast episode, so we're talking about The Brutalist today. When it came time to closing out 2024, The Brutalist was the movie that was like floating around in the ether. Like, I was like, if I don't see this movie before the end of the year, it's not going to go on my list, and I know it should be on my list, and it's not going to be there. And I don't know what I would do with. Actually, I do know. Like, I would have had no choice. But Nick was just like, if you don't see it, you don't see it. You make the list without it. Yep. I'm like, well, fuck. Anyway, so then we finally got our chance to see it because it's kind of releasing, bigger and bigger. And so we get our hands on The Brutalist 2 nights ago. The Brutalist, for the normies that listen to our DC Studios episode that want to know about this, The Brutalist is a 3-hour and 35-minute epic with an intermission cooked into it. It stars Adrian Brody and Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones. It's directed by Brady Corbet. I don't know.
Brady Sorbet.
That's crazy. It has this 15-minute intermission baked into it, and it's this story about the brutal. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a story.
About a guy being deported to America because he needs to.
He immigrates to America.
Out of like he's forced to because of violence during Second World War.
Yeah.
And it's about him trying to like get a foothold and live his American dream.
Yeah. He's a Holocaust survivor who immigrates to America. And essentially it's like that's where you start, and then it's where do you go from there. And like I said, it's a 3 hour and 35-minute drama with an intermission cooked in between. And we picked the optimal time to watch it, which was 9 p.m. on a Monday. So I sat down in my chair and the lights went low. And if it wasn't for the ticking of the film reel, I would have fallen asleep. But
immediately.
This is what I'll give the movie right off rip. The Brutalist is actually amazing for its ability to keep you captivated at that time of day, also for what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extremely, and I think you can agree, Nick, it's like an extremely intricate way of telling a story. Like,
yeah, 100%.
It's very specific. All out on detail. It's like you're dealing with the guy who's telling you this story and he refuses to leave out any bits. He wants you to know and feel and see everything. And I think that
he manages
translates
to do that like very digestibly too, like that. Like for something as heavy as it is, like in terms of the delivery of said content, it is very, very much something that like someone that wants to watch this movie won't be bored by.
No, I definitely agree with that. It's but that's where, that last bit is definitely the part that, like, that I want to build off of. You gotta want to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gotta really want to dig your teeth into The Brutalist. It is not a movie that reaches out and like invites people into it. It's not a Dune Part 2. It's not Wicked or Anora or even A Real Pain, which is kind of trying to invite people into it. The Brutalist is made for cinephiles to watch. It's not your TNT 2 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon kind of movie. Yeah. Like it doesn't work like that. And maybe one day it'll age into it, kind of like how The Godfather is on TV every weekend and it ages its way into that role as well. I'm not comparing The Brutalist to The Godfather in that. I'm saying I see in the kind same of like 3 hour epic.
Like referring to like the idea, like, because there's been a while, like, I'm gonna call it a slow burn, even though it isn't. But like the format, the way that the story is told, is very much a sit down and watch type of movie. That a lot of time people are afraid to make because it requires the audience to be willing to sit through. Whereas like a lot of modern movies, they try to convince you it's worth to sit through. Yeah, this movie doesn't care whether or not you like it. It's just you're gonna watch it or you don't. And it kind of shows in the way that like it took 7 years for it to be made. The process he took to make that movie, the approach he had, just highlights this fact.
Mm-hmm. For sure, and you could tell in all the way down to like what's actually on screen between shot selection and cinematography, but also just down into performance as well. This isn't like performances that like how should I put this? Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce are fantastic actors. All three of them. Joe Alwyn. The rest of this cast, the entire cast in this movie is fantastic. These people were not picked for box office reasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like they are picked with the intent to tell the story, and they are in this movie with the intent to deliver the story to the highest degree. And it's going to pay dividends for them because that's kind of where this movie's going. Is it's designed to have success not with audiences but with critics, with award seasons. It's designed to be celebrated and watched and put on a mantle amongst the other, historical elements of cinema. I'm not pointing to my Jerry Seinfeld Funko Pop, but I'm saying like it's designed to be put on that, pedigree with those other movies. It feels that way. It's baked into it. This movie is divided into 4 parts: an overture, part 1, part 2, and then an epilogue. Is it chapter or
it's
part? I think it's no. I think it's just part 1, part 2, and then an epilogue. Yeah. So it's divided into 4 parts, but you could really call it 2 parts divided right in the middle, smack dab with the intermission. The intermission is odd. I like
welcomed.
it.
It's welcomed.
It's welcome, but it's odd because we don't really get them anymore. And how many times have you and I over the past 3 years gone into a theater, sat down for a 3-hour movie and have to actually just sit through 3 hours?
I mean, aside from Oppenheimer, I can't remember.
Well, it's happened. No, it's happened a handful of times. Like I say 3 hours, 240 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
We've dealt with those movies before. It's not a secret. And this is just really the runtime of this movie is 3 hours and 15 minutes. But you smack an intermission in the middle, and then you give your audience a time to breathe, and that breath is well appreciated. It's just what I have a hard time with this movie is that I don't think it's made for me, like your audience member, to sit there and watch it. Now, what I really want to say is this movie is definitely built to win Best Picture. I'd pick it to win Best Picture. But I don't see a world where The Brutalist is a movie that I'm like, oh, you got to go watch The Brutalist. You can't miss out. This is such a fun time at the movies. It's not a fun time at the movies. It's a sad time at the movies. Like it's gloomy. It's not inviting. It's a tough story to watch. And to me, sometimes you have a tough story to watch, i.e. a Schindler's List. But that is a tough watch, but it feels like a very important, significant watch. Whereas this movie felt like it doesn't have that layer of importance and emotional leveling that a movie like that would have. But
I guess you're
kind of tough watch.
To, like, the weight the movie has on you more so than like anything else. Because like for a lot of dramas, what makes it worth is like the way the audience feels the weight of the movie and how it alleviates it over time. Even if it's a tragic ending, the way it alleviates it is everything. It's the relief. This movie just doesn't have that. You're literally just a spectator.
So to
engaged.
me, you're saying it doesn't alleviate or it doesn't have the original weight? Because I'd say it doesn't have either. Like there is some
there's an
weight.
attempt.
There's magnitude to it, but there's nothing more than nothing more. And the reason why is because it's 3.5 hours of a character study. And a character study for one guy. It's not like you're witnessing the end of the war. And the guy, for all intents and purposes, isn't always likable. And you have no real reason to care for him. Like, why am I wishing him success over any other immigrant that came in? And I'm not trying to... I don't think the movie was bad. I don't think the movie was bad. And honestly, it has, and I wrote this in the review that's on the Instagram page, but it shifted my view of what an epic could be. Because to me, an epic had to pack an emotional layer, be heavy, make it engaging, tense, thrilling, make 3 hours and a half feel like, make 3 hours feel like 1 hour. And this movie seemingly has no interest in making your time go faster or making you feel tense or at the edge of your seat until the last 45 minutes. But I'd say the movie doesn't really give you anything to chew on. It's just showing you a million different things. And
which is crazy for like a movie of this magnitude and like this quality. Like you expect to get everything when you get something as pushed and as developed and as high quality as the Brutalist. But at the end of the day, you're left out wondering like, why was it like all that and not all that at the same time? You know, it's just
it's why didn't like you bite off everything? Like you left, like, I'm gonna sound like a TikTok. You left crumbs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you ate, but you left crumbs. That's just how I feel. That's just how it made me feel. I had a really tough time connecting to it in that sense. Because it left something on the table that it shouldn't have left.
To me, it would have more so been like, you ate, but you left no crumbs, but your sandwich only had bread. Like there's no like
you ate a bland ass sandwich.
Yeah, but like it was the greatest bread of all time. I'm sorry, like the constituent of the sandwich was incredible. The bread was high quality. I just would have wished that what was inside that sandwich was more than just like peanut butter or some shit, you know.
Fair
Still
enough.
good, but like give me some jelly, give me a PB&J, like the greatest.
And that's funny because it's so rare that you would compare a peanut butter sandwich to a 3.5 hour epic, but it's like the Brutalist is tough, man. It's tough. It's really tough. I would say because you go through the checklist of what makes a movie good. Are the actors good? The actors are fucking amazing. And I think Adrian Brody will win Best Actor.
Yep. And
I think Guy Pearce will be like second behind Kieran Culkin and Best Supporting Actor. I think he was amazing. I think Felicity Jones will not be nommed at the Academy Awards, but she was also amazing and she deserves nominations wherever she picks them up. Brady Corbet will win Best Director.
For sure.
Like definitely most likely. And then the only one I'm really like iffy about is Best Picture, because I'm like the Best Picture feels like a big toss up right now, but I feel like if I had to bet like what's the underdog for Best Picture, it would be The Brutalist. Like I'm like it suits the category so well.
The thing is, if the Academy Award, was it the Academy Award that we just had? Like, what's the name of?
No, that's the Golden Globes we just had.
The Golden Globes, sorry. Like, if the Golden Globes didn't turn out the way they did, which is they gave it to the Brutalist, why? Like the director?
They gave him Best Director, Adrian Brody Best Actor, and they gave Best Picture to Emilia Perez.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that he already won some categories there, I'm afraid will kind of not necessarily indicate that the Academy won't think the same, more so that acknowledgement has already been given. So now it's free reign to just either we go full into that and it's the full wave of like Brody and the Brutalist as a whole, or it's just we're going to shift gears. So at this point, I don't think it's about movies anymore.
I think the Academy, whether we like pick its side or not, I think they know what would be fair. I don't think the Golden Globes did the fair thing. Mm-hmm. I think the Best Picture going to Emilia Perez over some other movies. Again, Emilia Perez is fine, but it's not better than The Brutalist, and it's not better, and it's not more impressive than any of these movies. And so maybe like that was a surprise when it happened at the Golden Globes. If they give it to the Best Picture at the Oscars, then I'll say it's not about movies. But if we're really being about movies, well, then The Brutalist is going to win. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where I stand with the Oscars, because it's just like, what's good with like who's picking this shit? Like I'm like it's because it's
who's
tough.
The panel? And do we actually know the panel that decides?
No, I don't know them but like
do they reveal it? Like, is it public?
It's the Academy. Like there's a bunch of members that vote. But to me, it's like the Best Picture category. The nominations are not out yet. They're supposed to be out tomorrow morning at 8:30. We're gonna get nominations, and then we'll do a podcast about. We'll pick every category. We'll give our personal pick as if we were the Academy. But yeah, like the predicted Oscar race in this article by Variety, they have The Brutalist in it, and it's sitting alongside Honora, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, A Real Pain, Sing Sing, The Substance, and Wicked. And then you have The Brutalist. Mm-hmm. So I'm like,
it's a tough category because it feels like it's
tough.
It's like all. I don't want to say it like this because it's gonna sound extremely wrong, but I see reasons to say no to every single movie's on this list. I don't have a clear and concise winner as I had last year, where I was like, yeah, you can't beat this dude. Like when it was time for Oppenheimer to win.
Yeah, it was.
Like there was no like I'm sorry, you couldn't not vote for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it had to be him, right? So
like you said, it was a complete piece. But everyone nominated this year has goods and has bads, and so it's like it's hard.
I think it's just a fair game now, and I'm like, Also, you look at Oppenheimer, and that kind of felt like a legacy pick. Like it was like Chris Nolan has been here so many times. We have to do this.
Yeah, but realistically, would have you given it to like any other movies?
I don't remember who was up there at the time, but if I right, no, it would not have been Poor
Barbie.
Things, but
You would have had.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
Killers of the Flower Moon.
So you had Oppenheimer, American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Who would I have given it to? Because I'm a good level-headed cinephile. Oppenheimer. Who would I have given it to? Because I'm a dickhead who watches movies. The Holdovers. Like, you know, like that's how I feel. Because how many times? And again, this is gonna happen with The Brutalist because The Brutalist is here and it's nominated for best. It's gonna be nominated for Best Picture and it should win because that is the right thing to do. But Conclave, Dune Part 2, Sing Sing, The Substance, Wicked, Anora, I all enjoyed them way more. Even A Real Pain, which I wasn't like I didn't fuck with it when I on first watch, but then I rewatched it and I'm like, this is actually like I'm stupid. Like that's how I felt when I watched it again. I'm like, I'm done. This is amazing. Sinks like, you know, like it's a tough category and it feels like this is the movie that
tomorrow though. You gotta keep some meat for tomorrow.
I know I'm not gonna predict them all, but I'm saying it feels like The Brutalist is set up to be that way. You know, it's set up to win in multiple categories, and you know, between adapted screenplay and production design, and cinematography and whatnot, you have so many ways that it could pick up awards this season, and that is my biggest issue with this thing is that I'm here and I just saw it 2 days ago and it's one of the biggest movies of the year and I'm talking about it through the lens of awards. Because if I talked about it through the lens of the guy who likes to sit down and watch movies, I'll say this. I almost fell asleep. I was a tad bored. I was happy when the intermission came on and I would really love the last hour. That's all I can say. But if I use my fucking film school lens, I'll say like, you know, technically outstanding. 70 millimeter film is infectious. If you haven't seen a movie on 70 millimeter, you're doing yourself a disservice. And we
just
didn't see
the machine go. Just hearing the machine.
Oh yeah, 100%. We didn't see Oppenheimer on 70 mil, and we saw it in IMAX, which is like still cool as hell. But when I saw this in 70 mil, let's just say I was happier to see this in 70 mil and Oppenheimer in IMAX than not 100%. This in IMAX. Because apparently The Brutalist was doing an IMAX run as well. And that would have been like, nah, bro. Big ass screen for no reason. But, you know, technically outstanding. It's colorful. The film grain, the crackle. I love everything about what I saw. Like,
I don't know how you call it, but like the concave nature of the film, that is like on each side it was slightly concaved.
Yeah,
like it wasn't squared off.
That's right. It looks a little off, but it looks also like fucking amazing.
So like tangible.
It is. It looks
great.
So
tangible.
It's great. It's warm. It is a warm, and like, the movie is so cold, but that is warm.
Yeah, like, but like you watch a movie and like just like in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when you have Margot Robbie in the theater and you just like see that Tarantino's goal was to make you kind of live the emotion of someone who was in the movie back in the day.
Yeah.
You felt the same with that 70 mil release where you're like, oh, this is just overall cool. Like just stare at the screen and somehow it's like more real. It's not just me staring at a bunch of pixels. It's actual movement. It's very fluid.
It is. It's fantastic. It's you know what? That's the difference between a digital and an analog film. It doesn't even compare. And I don't know, man. It feels like, you know, when you break up with, well, like you see it all the time, right? People break up and they go, "It's not you, it's me." That's how I feel about this fucking movie. Like I'm like it's. I gave it a 9.1 and a 4.5 star because I meant it. Like I really did. I thought that was solid, and I'm like, this was incredible and well acted. And the last hour, which I want to talk about before this episode ends, is some of the best filmmaking I saw all last year. When there's no such thing as a drama without consequence. Something has to happen. There has to be a breakthrough, a shitstorm. It has to go wrong for it to go right. It can't just be perfect all the time. It can't just be sunshine and rainbows, right? And so you get this second part that is all about, I want to bring up the name. It's the beauty, the hardcore of beauty. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's no better way to shape out the end of this movie. But then, essentially what happens is that there's a massive project that an American wealthy, industrialist needs him to build. And Adrian Brody's character, Laszlo, who is the architect, he says, bang, I got you, fam. I'm designing this thing. And so then you get on to, what happens when, and this is not to be like political, what happens, especially now, oh my God.
Yeah, what happens when like reality hits?
Yeah, because the reality of the situation is that you're set in the 1950s, and there's a lot of, immigrants who are leaving war-torn countries, post-war, Holocaust survivors who are moving to places like America, and if we're being realistic, if this guy's not an architect, genius, nobody wants him there.
Nope, he would have still been shoveling coal.
And that is the sad reality I think Brady Corbet is trying to put. People, and it's a universal message that humans are valued only for what they are and not who they are. And you kind of see it as it goes towards the end, the power dynamics and how people see other people and value other people. And then you enter this last hour, which really the movie shifts from drama to kind of like a more of a thriller in a way.
Yeah, type of thing. Like I see the tone is completely shifted from like they try to build tension.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. It's definitely more tense in that final hour. You have more confrontation, more angry moments, and that's when you really see Adrian Brody elevates acting into that role, and Guy Pearce does as well. Felicity Jones has an incredible scene. It's a dinner table scene. She's amazing in that. And then Joe Alwyn, who plays the son of Guy Pearce in the movie, he elevates himself as well. And that's something that I can never take away from a movie, is that actors match tones. So if the script calls for shit to go south, well, the actors are following, they're digging deep, and they're going into that level of performance while staying true to their character.
And which is, given the life background of all these characters, is crazy, because for a lot of time it would have been such a stark difference between their reaction that it would not have cringed me out, but it would have made me notice that I'm watching a movie, that it's not real. But the fact that they were able to pull it through and still, as you said, keep in character, just be the most insane version of it, just made it all the more immersive.
Yeah, to me, what I think is amazing is there's stereotypes when it comes to the end of this movie that they could easily use, but everybody felt so true to character that there was no way that I felt like, they're being stereotypical. No, everybody was really true to character, delivered an amazing performance, and pulled through to complete this vision. Because that's really what this movie is. It's a 3.5 hour vision. It's a tale that needs to be shared. It's a story that Brady Corbet is writing and sharing. It's not a
it's a true passion project.
It's a true passion project.
You see it through.
And he highlighted that in his own acceptance speech at the Golden Globes. He's like, let filmmakers be filmmakers. Yeah. Let them tell the story that they seek to tell. And that's really what he's doing in this. He's telling this. I don't know how you come up with a story like this. No, as a filmmaker, as an aspiring filmmaker, when I walked out of this, I was discouraged. I'm like, I'll never think of something this deep.
So the
it's
answer
so
is just
serious.
It's a writer's story turned into a media that he was able to use. But again, the reason I say it's a writer's story is because I've rarely seen fits of anger.
It's not a writer's story.
No, but as in like he is the writer.
Oh, okay.
What I mean is like it's a true author writing the story. It's not just I have a screen that I'm adapting, like a screenplay that I'm adapting.
No, it's original.
It's original, and it's really like it's an author's vision that comes through. And the reason I mentioned this is like, to me, what surprised me the most in this movie was how like insane and how good the portrayal of anger and frustration was for every single character. It felt so tangible. Like a lot of the time they're going to throw a tantrum or they're going to be mad, and you just see, okay, they're just elevating. It's like a part of the scene. It is what it is. You clearly see when people are mad in this movie how it directly affects their lives. And for that, it makes it all the more tangible.
It does.
And for that, especially when it comes to like the reaction of the rich people in this movie, the reaction of the less fortunate in this movie, it all resonates home in a extremely human way, which like
fucking Guy Pearce when he walks into the library. That's a great scene. That's like, again, like moments, flashes of greatness, flashes of pure raw storytelling. It almost plays out like a stage play. And that's how I felt when I was watching it. I felt like it played out very much like a stage play, and that's a great thing to be when you want to make this kind of movie. It's just not necessarily what I'm looking for in my movies, but I'm also like looking at different, like I don't necessarily, again, I've always had a hard time with period pieces, and this is one of them, and it's anyway. I'm not gonna go. The
stage factor in this movie really like made it what it was, though, because what a stage play format allows you to do is just alleviates pressure of a regular storytelling like medium. You know how like there's gonna be a sequence of event in every movie. You have to do certain things to get somewhere. This really just felt like it's all about the characters, and the rest is environment. Even though the environment is beautiful, even though it's huge, set pieces are there, but it's always about the character and the visions that they have. Which is, to
me, the environment is complementary.
That's my point.
To the character, like the environment isn't as pretty if you don't have, because the environment feels like deep breaths sometimes in this movie,
and they feel like a visual representation of them in the real world. Like I'm referring to specifically the marble scene where he goes to the quarry to see the blocks.
Yeah, you love that sequence.
I love that scene to death.
I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to follow, and I knocked over my water bottle, and it rolled down 2 steps in the theater, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So I got distracted. I felt like the biggest bum.
There's this Italian guy that like sculpts those rocks that like was doing a monologue, and just him going through. You see the carving in the rock, and you see generations of people. You see their lives before you in the world, which like in and of itself is crazy to me. So it's just the ability to make the world bigger than it is.
I think I'm gonna edit in a like an old TV, like a beep, like, because that was really what happened. The power went out. Yeah, and it was not like, we're not that far in proximity, but we're not close enough for your power and my power to go out at the same time, and that's what just happened. Our electricity of the region just kaboom.
Blame the cold.
Yeah, it is cold outside. We got frigid temperatures.
Frigid. What a word.
Yeah, we're just picking back up where we left off. Talking about characters and complexity. It sucks. We're picking up like 10 to 12 minutes after we left off, trying to go back into conversation. Essentially, just if we open up a new branch, do you see a world where a movie like The Brutalist can be coming out like couple times a year, or is this movie reached that level of like it's a once in a 3-year span? Like what I'm saying is how many 3-hour movies like this, sorry, not even 3-hour, how many movies like this designed to succeed with awards and tell such an intricate story, how many of these movies can we see as an audience on a yearly basis? Like,
as in like newly, or just a rewatch perspective?
I'm saying newly. You could rewatch any
as many
of them,
as you want,
but they don't happen very often. And, so I guess my question is: should we want more stories like this, more tales, more epics, or
Depends which side of the coin you see, because if you go along the director's like point of view, he's like, just let the movie makers make the movie they want to make.
Yeah.
If your movie is to be designed to be 3 hours, 3 hours and 30, an intermission, something crazy, it auto justifies by virtue of its existence the fact that it is worthwhile to watch. Because like I don't want to say gimmick, but the thing that made this movie what it is going to be what's going to draw people to watch it in the first place. So like, as much as I can see a world where like not all have the attention span to like watch 5 movies that are 3 hours and 30 throughout the year, I see a world where it can be done.
Fair enough.
And as for perhaps it's just about setting your expectations right and your spendings right. Because a lot of people spend too much money to make shit.
That's fair. It's just, in this episode we've been talking about how like it impacts award season. I don't like the idea of having more of these, because they will take over they will make award shows, film festivals, the idea of enjoying cinema so inaccessible.
Yeah, but there's something to be said for like short stories. There's something to be said about movies that are concise but high quality through and through.
Absolutely.
Like,
but
if I think it's just a matter of the judges themselves.
Then you could talk about bias and whatnot. But I'm saying, if we're going to be realistic, A Real Pain, which is projected to be nominated for Best Picture as well, is a 88. It's not even 90. 88-minute comedy drama with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the best movies of last year. It's not on my list, but it was one of the best movies of last year. And it has seemingly no shot in hell.
But that is the game they play.
It's just a shame to me, because I'm saying all I'm saying is I'm doing the idea of more brutalist movies equal less success, less acknowledgement for A Real Pain, because A Real Pain is not designed to be a box office success either, but it's designed to perform well in award season and just be an enjoyable movie. And it's not. Perhaps the movie that's going to get caught in the crossfire of it the most is Anora,
mm-hmm.
which was my favorite movie of last year, and I know you enjoyed it as well. And it's just a movie that is not as big scale and intricate as The Brutalist, but it isn't as short and simple as a movie like A Real Pain might be. But it just feels like there's no room for these anymore. Like,
yeah, but I think you need to look at it in a broader way, in the sense that Best Picture is supposed to go to the Best Picture, and a movie that wins Best Picture, although it like assures some kind of traction on the back end of things, a nom does just as much. Simply because, I'm sorry,
I think a nom is great, but to bring it home with
a win there for like Best Picture, it won't convince more people that were not interested in the movie to go watch it.
But fair enough. But if Anora were to win Best Picture, people are more likely to check it out on account of that.
The only reason they're more likely to check it out is that there was already a genuine interest to begin with. One's interest in a movie doesn't spur from the fact that it won an award. It spurs from the fact that their convictions and their like assumptions are being confirmed by the price they were given. I don't
know about that. I think some people get movies put on the map with an award season, and people check out movies based off the fact that, it's one of the best movies of last year. Like, mm-hmm. I know that I have people in my family who do that. Yeah. And like, they watched like CineClwd, and they were like, CineClwd is so slow and boring. And I'm like, imagine if you watched The Brutalist. Like, mm-hmm.
It was a nom.
That's fair enough, right? The nomination brought it to a level where people
have, like, 5 movies like this. The only thing that will show, if you have like 5 hour, like 3 hours movies, like in award season, it'll just show that there's going to be more movies to pick from, and what will probably happen is that they're going to be more selective. I don't see a world where you have three masterpieces like Brutalist coming out and all five of them being nominated simply by virtue of there's a diversity in the sphere itself.
Let's humor ourselves, right? Let's say the Brutalist comes out 2023. You mean to tell me the Brutalist, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer are getting Best Pictures nominations?
Yeah, they do.
You think all three of them do?
Maybe not Killers of the Flower Moon. That would be the one that gets probably cut.
So that's your argument for like the selective.
Yeah, if I was like the selective, like a part of the selective group for people, I would have looked at again, I don't know how they go about it. I would have looked at the narrative. What does the narrative bring? And if I had to, I'm going to contradict myself because I just said something. I'm going to go against it. I'm going to be like the narrative itself of the movie. The Brutalist has the weakest narrative out of Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer in terms of what it gives back to the audience.
Fair enough.
And therefore doesn't deserve, although it is a great movie, to be in the Best Picture category, because the Best Picture category is more than just the sum of your parts. Like there has to be a bigger impact. You represent your year. Like I don't see a world where the Brutalist could represent a year other than the fact that it's an empty year. It's like full of flashes, full of everything, but you miss this like core element of that was going to call to people.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? It's what made cinema this year.
Yeah.
And when you look at it,
to me, that
movie in the public eye would be Dune Part 2 and Wicked.
I would have said The Substance.
That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say, The Substance. If it was down to me, although I love Anora and I think it deserves a win, The Substance really took 2024 by storm and made it the year for movies that we've had. Like I don't think I would have appreciated so much the back end of 2024 without this movie.
Because The Substance is the It movie. Mm-hmm. Whereas sometimes, and to be fair, Barbie might have been more the It movie than Oppenheimer was, but Oppenheimer was always there. Like it was always there. It didn't make the box office numbers, but it's always around.
It did, but like it got overwhelmed. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's true, because Barbie did swallow it up, but Oppenheimer made $1 billion. It's true.
It's crazy.
But I guess,
but it's the wedding of the two, like the marriage, like they combine all the element to represent a year. Although Barbie represented the year as well, it was Barbenheimer. And at the end of the day, I'm sorry to say it like that, a freaking bomb will win over a Barbie. Like,
story about the best picture, bomb. Best picture, of course. Like that's, the movie's also better. Like there's no secret. Point. But I think something I'd like to point out. You had Barbie, which dominated box office and really pulled weight. And then you had Oppenheimer, which was the critical success that also pulled its own weight. Mm-hmm. Wicked, Dune Part 2.
I feel like I'm going to say how I think it is. Wicked, although when it released was like all we could hear, I feel like it left the theaters like a wet fart. Like it went on like streaming, it went on everything, and all of a sudden, not that the interest is lost, but it got like people moved on. They were not like slamming over and over the fact I went and watched Wicked 4 times in a span of 1 month. I've heard people do that with Dune Part 2.
I saw that.
I heard it way more with Dune.
Okay, no, but I was putting those movies on the same level.
Okay,
I'm saying Dune Part 2, Wicked. Those are those type of movies.
But it might
the
just
substance,
be
the substance is definitely the critical pull along. And you know what those movies all have in common? They were so aware of who they had to cast and who they brought in to make them and what they were putting on screen. Not that The Brutalist doesn't have it like that. It has amazing talent and the movie's amazing. And it's not really fair to compare it to The Brutalist. But I'm like, there's something. Where's the it factor of The Brutalist? The Brutalist could have came out in 1964 and I wouldn't have known when I watched it. Like, there's nothing that makes it it. It's not an it piece. Like, it's not even an it piece.
It's the truest form of art that we've had in 2024.
It's timeless art.
Yeah, it's like to a point where like all I could think of watching the movie is like the artistry of the craft, and I don't think this is easily recognizable when it comes to awards season, because as I like mentioned earlier, there's more to movies than just the art of the movie. I said it in my Letterboxd review. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, if this movie was a 3 hour and 30 minute movie video essay about Brutalist architecture, I would have gave it 5 stars, but it wasn't. It was a real movie. It actually got to theater, so 4.5. But for what it worth, it's still a piece of art.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna go to the museum, you're gonna watch a piece of art. How am I supposed to grade something that is in a league of its own when like the awards season is not even catered to that kind of shit? Like, it's completely different from what like we've used to watching.
That's true too. I'm just, even on like a social commentary level, like it's not saying anything at the time.
No, but
like,
it kind of does. There's a lot of like,
it does, but it's not saying anything new. It's not doing it in a fancy way. It's just saying.
Which movie did they have the same comments about last year? I don't remember. But there was a similar like dilemma
about of a movie that wasn't saying anything new.
Yeah, and
well,
therefore,
Barbie.
Like, yeah, but it was not Barbie. I'm gonna have to think about it. But like, there was a. It's like a reimagining
of the best pictures.
No, I just remember having this conversation with you. It's gonna come back to me. Like, it's the fact that the argument itself wasn't new, that the subject itself wasn't new.
Well, the substance had that conversation.
It probably was the substance.
That the substance definitely had that conversation where people were saying that it didn't say anything new, but it did something so new. Like the movie feels so new. When was the last time you saw an A-list celebrity split her back open to birth out another A-list celebrity? That doesn't happen. That's crazy. Like that's eye-popping. And the Brutalist, Adrian Brody, is playing very similar character than he played in The Pianist. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not going to bash. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, the more I sound like I'm bitching. But I'm like
when you're critiquing art, it's not the same vocabulary. Therefore, as I said earlier, it's not the same kind of recognition you can give it. I feel like giving it Best Picture, given the climate in 2024, it kind of deserves it. I can see a world where it wins it. But I also see a world where the people acknowledge that this movie is so different that no matter how much we can praise it, it's not very comparable to the rest of the movie landscape.
That's fair.
Today's era.
That's fair. That's fair. I'd say the same. The Brutalist. If you haven't seen The Brutalist, I'd suggest watching it on 70mm. It definitely feels like the best way to watch it if you're ready to watch it. I suggest going early. If you start your screening at 10 a.m., you got like a nice museum tour. It's a nice story. You're witnessing some of the best performances of the year. You're witnessing a comeback by Adrian Brody, which is not really a comeback, but he's going to win a fucking award for this thing. And, you get to see some of the forgotten actors of the game at the top of their game. And you get to see a director who's directing his second or third all-time film. And he's gonna win a big award. He's gonna win big award for it. Like that's exciting, and you get to see one of the, like you said, a true auteur story coming to life, and a message from a man who believes that filmmakers could be allowed to make whatever movie that they want, and that they should be funded and encouraged to make whatever movie they want. The Brutalist will make the rounds. The Brutalist will, be amazing to some and completely boring to others, and that's what I wouldn't have movies be any other way.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that is confirmed is that it will not be lost to the test of time. It will be a timeless movie. People will watch this 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line.
Yeah.
Like that I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, that's like I kind of at the beginning of this episode when I said it's your AMC. It's going to be on AMC in 10, 15 years at 2 p.m. on a Sunday, playing in between The Godfather Part 2 and Part 3. Like, it just feels like it just belongs in that type of channel. And The Brutalist, And perhaps I'm, my reluctancies or negative demeanor towards it sometimes come from I haven't seen it through yet. Like, I haven't felt the impact of it yet.
I feel like this negativity that you're describing is more so down to your experience as a viewer. And at the end of the day, this movie forgoes your experience as a viewer and just makes it be what it is. And putting it to the side only helps. Like, right, whether you like it or you don't, you can't stop not watching it. It just is the movie. It just is a thing. Like it's captivating enough so that even someone that's gonna give it a 3-star is still gonna watch it through.
Yeah, you want to see it through.
It's hella boring, but you're gonna see it through.
Yeah, you have to see it through.
Which is a big thing.
It is. That's an accomplishment within itself. Anyway, we are gonna find out. This is. We're gonna find out tomorrow morning if this thing is fucking winning Oscars or not, or nominated for them at the very least, and then we'll have an episode where we pick our own Oscars because
the Academy is known to fumble sometimes.
No, they don't. They do a really decent job, but I'm gonna try. Oh, you're gonna see it. Right, get ready. Get ready.
No, I mean, winning.
But get ready, and what we're gonna have to do is build graphics. Like, I'm going to build a pick graphic, and we're going to have to come on and justify our own choices.
Cool.
So that'll be having to get done soon enough. But anyway, thank you so very much for listening to this episode of the CineClwd Podcast. This interrupted episode of the CineClwd Podcast, but we picked back up and just finished it off. Thank you for sticking with us. If you like the episode, if you like any of our episodes, feel free to check out any more. Share it, talk about it with your friends, your family, and if your dog knows how to like and follow, tell him to. And outside of that, we will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yes, sir.